Cripper, he had a challenging 2020. They all had a challenging 2020. I think it was the first year that Cripps had, we talk about nothing is linear. And I feel like for the majority of his career, if not all of it, every year he's just gotten better and better and better. And it seemed like he was Mr. Unstoppable at the end of 2019. And he seemed to have plateaued in some respects. I think there's a new challenge that's been added to him. First of all, he was injured. So he was playing through a shoulder injury or whatever it was. But I think he's no longer looked at as a little baby anymore. He's now a captain of the club. And I think this new layer of pressure came onto him. And I think at times he maybe didn't do as well as he could have. How are you viewing Cripps responding in 2021?
I think he will do. I think the promising sign, if I'm Patrick Cripps, is for the last 5 years, post Judd, he has been it. He has been the guy that's got to push the agenda. He's the best player. He carries the team. I think if I was Cripps, I'd look this year and see that Walsh nearly beat me in the Brownlow votes. Setterfield had record numbers for his inside work. Kerno, as always, and a class above the rest. So he's now got the people around him. And that is a big thing for him. So I think moving forward for Cripper, it's now putting that muscle back on like Russell has suggested he will do, and also having that help and using the help now. He's got the talent around him.
Can we talk about that for a minute? I did appreciate Andrew Russell addressing the fact that we decided to take some weight off him last year and it didn't work. And we're going to put that strength back on him. I think, first of all, I don't think anyone really, I think we were hoping it was the right idea. Oh, we're going to turn him into more of a spreading type midfielder who can cover more ground. I feel like we get too caught up in trying to turn him into something he's not. I feel like with all midfielders, they get to the top of their game, then it's, well, can they go forward and kick goals now? And Dustin Martin's obviously done it. And now all of a sudden, Cripps is 6'4", so he's got Wayne Carey attributes. Maybe if he can go forward and kick 35, 40 goals in a year and still average his 25 touches. I'm not sure if that's media driven. I'm not sure if that's people, fans driven, but we never settle for what a player is. And I think Cripps is I personally think he's the best contested midfielder in the league. And I don't know why we tried to take him away from that, especially now that we've got Walsh, we've got Williams, who are line-breaking runners. He doesn't need to run as much or cover as much ground. He can feed it out to them.
I think he's probably a victim of one or two things. I think one, he's a victim of how good he is.
Okay.
And how bad we've been. And we've been wanting a goal-kicking midfielder. So he's our best midfielder. Please be a goal-kicking midfielder.
Right.
And I think, two, he's also a victim of how midfielders are nowadays. All of them go up top and kick goals. Lockie Neal, Nat Fyfe. The list goes on. All these top players do that. But Cripper isn't a Neal and he isn't a Fyfe. He is a superstar at what he does. And I'd like to see him role model Trent Cotchin at Richmond. And you look at their development, he was a 30 possession game midfielder, their star ball winner. He was kind of like the point guard in NBA. He was the first user of the ball all the time. And he adapted his game to be the subsidiary of his talented midfield. And like you say, he's got Williams, he's got Walsh, he's got Carroll, he's got Dow, the list goes on of players he can give the ball to in the future as well. It's time, I think, now for Cripper to do what Cripper does best. Don't worry about keeping his career forever, because would you want him as a third tall for the rest of his career with his kicking? Or do you want him getting 20 contested every week, extracting the pill and handballing it to Walsh and Williams? And that is where you'll win football matches. And I think that is his role going forward. Be the best inside midfielder in the comp, because that's what God made you for.
Absolutely. I want to see him tackle more. I think what he built his name on was how ferocious he was at the contest, and his tackle numbers were fantastic. I think that dropped off a little bit last year. Probably had something to do with the shoulder, given the strength.
Definitely.
Given the strength throughout the shoulder was a struggle. So yeah, and I also think there's a level he needs to go to now as a leader, where I think he's probably going to take a few years to get used to it. If I'm honest, I don't think it's going to click for him straight away. He needs to play in more of these big games, and ultimately, failure is the key to success. That's the hidden secret right there. You've got to sort of fail over and over again until you succeed. And I think the fact that he's got Doherty there, I'm hoping that'll fast track his development into a a well-rounded captain. But I think you're spot on. I think when he's being a little bit more selfless, like Cochin, I'd rather him be a Cochin captain than be an absolute superstar where we only look to get him the ball. And I think we do have a lot of options there.
I think I look at his best ever game, Brisbane. The Brisbane game, we know how synonymous that is. Why did he have that game? It wasn't because he was Dustin Martin. It was because he struck the fear of God into Brisbane. You watch that first quarter, it was the tackles, the pressure he laid. He became an impact. You could see they were starting to fear him. And fear makes mistakes, and mistakes leave space. So Cripps then can do what Cripps does, because they were worried about what he was going to do next. And I think that is where he's our Dustin Martin. He's not our Dustin Martin in the terms of he's going to get the ball and run through packs 6 times a game and kick 5 goals on the run. He's going to impact by striking the fear of God into that midfield. How do we stop this big beast?
Yep.
And I think that's where his skill set is, because that then in turn creates space for Williams, creates space for Walsh, because suddenly they're like, shit, I can't handle Cripps. You're going to have to come and help me.
Yep.
And then someone is left alone. And that's where the skill is. And I think he's a very talented footballer when he does that.
Mm-hmm. Fergus Brutus says that he can't help but feel that if we don't make finals this year, then he's going back to WA. Let's talk about it. There's no better time to talk about it than his preview. I could be naive. I could be reading it completely wrong. I can't see him leaving. Why would he leave? I mean, I get it, the lure of premierships and all of that. I don't think going to West Coast necessarily guarantees him a flag. I don't think going to Freo guarantees him a flag. I think he's so set up off-field at the Carlton Football Club that, and also I genuinely believe him when he talks about wanting to do it the hard way. And it wouldn't mean, as he said it on the Scott Penderbury podcast last year, it wouldn't mean as much going to West Coast and winning a flag in my first year as opposed to taking that extra 2, 3, 4 years to win it at Carlton and build it from the ground up. I believe that. I think he comes from a hardworking family, humble beginnings. He's got the right morals and ethics around him. I just think he's invested. I believe it. I think he's genuine. Where are you with it? And you guys at home, where are you with the Cripps signing contract situation? Because the other thing to think about as well, if I'm his manager, of course I want to get the best deal for my client. Of course. AFL players get paid very well in terms of the Australian landscape, but in terms of world sport, it's peanuts. So where are you with the contract situation?
I'm always caught between two places. You've got the 25 years of being a POM, that when a player stands up in front of you and says he loves the club and buys into it, and how could I leave this means he's just handed in a transfer request. and then I'm also stuck into the 10 years as an Australian and proud of it, that I believe what I hear and I take it at face value. I think that says to me what I was saying in 2018 when we used to do this show. And I used to say, you've got to sell the club on ifs, not realities. And I think he's bought into that. I think that is what I would be saying to Cripps from an established point of view. You want to be a legacy player and you want to have people talk about you when you die. You can have that at Carlton Football Club, because you will be the captain that leads this club back to the promised land. You will be the poster boy. They will sing songs about you in 20 years' time. There'll be bronze statues. Mm-hmm. He will never get that at West Coast. No. If he goes to West Coast, he'll just be another star amongst a host of stars. Mm-hmm. At Carlton, he'll be our first star. When we win a flag, say it's not this year, it's the year after, and Murphy's gone, he will be the poster boy of sticking through the fat.
Yep.
He's us. He's gone through the shit. And we get to lift that trophy with him. So I can't see him going. The only way I could see him going out at a sub clause is, which won't happen, we absolutely capitulate and suddenly it's like 2018. I reckon I wouldn't even blame him, but I reckon we'll play finals football. Sauce said it himself. Carlton have to play finals football because that was the contract offer. And I agree with Sauce. I think that's it. And I think we've shown enough now. Yeah. I think we finished 8th, 7th. Cripps will sign a 5-year deal. My prediction will be it'll come at the bye. We love good news at the bye. He'll sign a 5-year deal. He'll win the Brownlow this year and then win the flag the next. Cheers, Cripper. Good on you, bro.
Love it. I think also because he was in WA for so long over the break, I look at that as a positive. That's exactly what he needed. You go home, you get what you need when you go home, and then you leave. Like I'm not sure what his makeup is mentally. I know what I'm like personally. I get itchy. I need to leave. I need to move. Once you learn what you need to learn at home, you want to evolve and become, something else. You want to learn about what's outside of where you've grown up from. if he's got that mentality, I've got no issue there. So
it's Instagram culture, though, bro. Like the amount of West Coast fans who have gone, "Oh, he was on a farm in
we'd
Perth,"
be doing the same
and
thing.
I'm like, he lives in freaking Perth, bro. Like his
Yeah.
family live. He
I
comes
know.
from Western Australia.
I know. Let's get through some comments. Jad, actually, this is an interesting one. Jad, I'd love to have this conversation with you. He says, I think he's gone. He spent a lot of time in WA over the break, which I think has swayed him. And I think he's hesitant in telling the club he's torn, but in the end, I think he'll decide to leave. Other factors, including his partner as well. Fair enough, mate. Rocco says he should sign now. That shows true leadership. I agree. Get it out of the way early. I totally agree with that as well. I understand the selfish part of it, which I don't think selfish is a bad term. I think it's okay to be selfish because at the end of the day, you got to look out for your own best interests. That's especially when you're in this position in a league like this, where, again, we spoke about salaries relative to the global sporting landscape. So setting himself up there. Some dude on YouTube says, if he leaves, I'm going to cry for a week straight. Terry Mastoros says, I don't think he will leave. He bleeds navy blue. Rafi says he'll sign, maybe being kept as a BNF night announcement. Imagine that.
Would be classic Carlton, though.
It would.
Because
Imagine
we
that.
love the media.
We love pumping up something.
Yeah. That's why I said bye. I just can see, we get a bit bored, don't we, during the bye? So, yeah, they just throw that out. Oh, by the way, Cripps signed.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Patrick Cripps.